Hey everybody, Joey Boy here, the Joey you can trust, back with a Walking Dead roast fight video, featuring the Pick Your Path event, and what you need to do to complete it. As you can see here everybody, this is the roadmap, and oh my gosh, is it completely loaded. There is no real estate left on here to probably put anything else, so we're going to take this step by step. This is the process of how this event is going to go. First things first, is you're going to go to the roadmap, and you're going to choose Pick Your Path, over here on the far left middle of the screen. When you're first starting this, everything will be inactive and unable to participate in because you have to go in a somewhat linear process, and then you'll be given choices to either take a hard mode or an easy mode. Hard mode will give better rewards than the easy mode. Let's start off with, you would go and pick your path. You would then go through this entire process here, Act 1, and then go to Act 2, in which you will be rewarded with a beaker and some test tubes. Once you get the beaker, you are then able to start either John Part 1 or Maggie Part 1. You can see John Part 1 requires a beaker because I did not use him there, as I used the beaker for Maggie, which then started my journey through Maggie Part 1, 2, and 3. Once you go to Maggie Part 1 and you complete Act 2, you will be given a goggle. Once you collect this goggle, you will be given an option to pick one of two Maggie Part 2s. This top one here is the easy way out, as you can see at the top middle of the screen, which lets us know that this is the easier version of completion. This helps out new players that don't have very strong rosters, in which the rewards will be reflected upon that. And if you were to go to hard mode, you will see that the rewards are better. This same process will go throughout the entire event. I will collect a tattered lab coat, and from there, I will unlock Maggie Part 3, and once I complete that, I will be able to choose between a hard mode or an easy mode, and from there, I will be rewarded with my final collection item and a weapon of my choice, depending on if I did hard mode or easy mode. Once I complete everything, I will be given a key to gain Maggie, which I will then go to the museum and choose Hilltop, and then turn in the Hilltop key, in which I will then be given Maggie. The same process goes as well for John, once you get the Bloody Savior's key, by completing John's roadmap. So it's a very linear-esque process with the option to branch off into two directions, which in the end result still leads you to the same point. This is mainly for difficulty purposes so that people with stronger rosters can fight stronger enemies, in which the end result will be better rewards. One thing to keep in mind is if you were to power through this at the very beginning, you will be stopping on Part 2, midway Stage 3, if you did not die at any of the stages. And since we are stopping here, the question may be, how can I continue and complete this roadmap event? Well, there's always the option of going into the shop and buying something in there through coins or the offers, but as well, if you are patient, you will see right here that players will be rewarded event collection items by completing the first roadmap, but also it'll be available in level up milestones until January 18th, which is in 8 days. Also, the stories that happen on Sunday will be suspended because, well, there is absolutely no room, and it seems like the real estate housing market is going to be booming in the RTS universe. But other than that, that's the rundown of the event. Very straightforward, very linear, and even though it may seem like there are a bunch of collection items that you need to complete this, it is very straightforward as they give it to you one step at a time. But let me know who you are going to go for in the comment section down below. Are you going to be going for Maggie, or are you going to be going for John? I know personally myself, as you guys already have seen, I'm going to be going for Maggie, as I feel she has a little bit more potential. I don't think I'm going to be using either one of these. I am not exactly a fan of where their stats are currently, as they are on first generation stats instead of being on second generation stats. Since this is the new year, there should not be any first generation stats with not having the 500 increased base stats. I feel we all should be getting at least on the same level of the survivors we will be obtaining in 2019 on the same playing field for base stats. I hope this does get fixed later down the road, but I don't think it will, and I really hope that this does not cause a lot of problems for free-to-play users when they realize that this is the case. Even though I still think free-to-play can beat pay-to-play rosters, and I know a lot of people are going to argue that, but I still think there needs to be a better experience while playing, and stat differences like this for a greater portion of your audience will cause some frustration before they even get the tune. If that tune also underperforms to them, which after a month it will start to show, that I think it'll start to cause some frustration. But this is still speculation on my part here. Let's take a quick overview of the two survivors that we can actually get from this event. Granted, I'm only going to briefly go over these because I will be doing a video on them as well, because I still need to do the 3 videos of Dwight, Maggie, and Knox from the previous event. But I will get to all these. I promise you all, I will not forget them. Just time has been really crappy on my end. I'm trying to make do with little free time as I have, as I'm doing all this for a hobby. But let's first take a look at Maggie, as I'm going to be going after her first. Even though I think there is an onslaught of blue damage dealers out there now, in all forms and manner. And now we have a fire starter for our blue survivors. If we are to combine Maggie's base stats together, she will be at 4,913, which is first generation base stat survivors, while the second generation of survivors are usually around 5,300, 5,400 base stats. Maggie's special skill is Firestarter, which will let her apply a copy of a burn of whoever she basic attacks. So if someone has a 600 burn damage on them and she auto attacks them, that 600 burn damage will spread to an adjacent enemy. As for Adrenaline Rush, 525% damage at 2,000 base stat is not too shabby. The 600 burn damage for 2 turns is basically 1,200 damage, giving her a decent amount of damage with her Adrenaline Rush over 2 turns. To follow this up, all fast and tough teammates will get focus for 2 turns, which is very nice if you want to bring in, let's say, a yellow-blue team comp or a strictly all-blue team comp, where you can give your entire team focus to deal with any blue or red human shields, or at the same time, any defense teams that uses heavy, taunt and confuse crowd controlling team comps. Overall, has some uses, mainly because of the focus and the burn damage if you really want to utilize Firestarter. And it's a good thing the 600 burn damage actually lasts for 2 turns, because if it only lasts for 1 turn, then Firestarter would probably not be that useful, then she wouldn't be able to follow it up after she uses her Adrenaline Rush. As for her active skill, AP gain 20%, which isn't too bad, as 76 AR survivors, if you were to give them 20% AP, that would be 15.2 AP, and I'm pretty sure it rounds up to 16, which 76 AR survivors would then be only needing 60 AP, which is only 2 turns worth, in which you can also toss in a command, or if you don't want to throw in a command, you can have 76 AR survivors that only get 30 AP per turn, ready on turn 3. As for John here, we're looking at a execution specialist skill, which 20% HP or less, the enemy will be instantly killed. For extremely tanky individuals, this is actually a very good specialist skill. It's not decapitate, but at least it's something to help you get to the next survivor faster. As for his Adrenaline Rush, whether he's getting 30 AP or 40 AP per attack, he is still a 4th turn AR survivor with no command. Which, where this game is going right now, when the enemy Adrenaline Rushes are usually popping off on turn 3, kind of unacceptable unless you really need to bring a command with him to use him turn 3, so in case healing and revives are being used, you can actually make use of this healing reduction for 2 turns to 1 enemy. Now, in this day and age, 100% healing reduction for 2 turns to 1 enemy is extremely lackluster in my opinion. I think at a minimum, 100% healing reduction for 2 turns to 2 enemies, minimum. There are too many people now that have so many revives, so many HP and bonus HP healing survivors with revives, it's just getting completely out of hand, and I think that for this guy to actually be somewhat useful, especially since he has first generation stats, being at 4917, I find this to be extremely lackluster. As for the second part of his Adrenaline Rush, all reds and greens will get 50 crit for 3 turns, which is very nice if you're going to be doing survival road or anything lengthy in terms of the road map or the world map. But if you're trying to make this last part of his Adrenaline Rush useful in terms of PvP, I don't think that 50 crit getting it on turn 4 is actually going to be that beneficial when you probably could have been using it turn 3, where you could have used it first, and if you had anybody that could benefit from crit with their Adrenaline Rushes, then that can actually be advantageous. But seeing how slow his Adrenaline Rush is, I just only see that 50 crit being useful for survival road, world map, and road map scenarios. But this is not to say that this 50 crit can't be useful in raids, it's just I feel that the higher competitive levels that you get, it holds less and less merit, as there's probably better options to use instead of this. And his active skill is Recover Bleed, which up to two teammates recover from bleed. Cool. I don't... not that great. It's only, I mean, this active skill only does one thing too, and it's a Recover Bleed, when a lot of these active skills nowadays do 2 things at once, so I'm not that impressed with this. So overall, the survivors are okay. I mean, if you're a newer player, but what isn't good for a newer player? I'm not entirely sure that these survivors are up to standard with what's out right now, and this also furthers my predictions that we are going to be getting in basically 18 days, when the season store refreshes its survivors. This is where I think we're going to be getting a decapitate and or possibly a disarm. Seeing as this event didn't yield any one of those, this increases my certainty that we will be seeing decapitate and or disarm in the Season League store for Season 3, which will also require unique gear to upgrade them as well. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video and made you laugh, 485, so please give a nice karate chop, like, subscribe button, make sure you comment down below. It's really appreciated, and on that, I'll catch you on the next video.